I'm here with Paul Beckner, a fellow Brocktonian, community activist. He's here to explain the definition of BOHICA, what this BOHICA hat's all about. Without any further ado, Mr. Beckner.
Well, hello everybody. BOHICA. Well, that stems from my campaign several years ago for councilor at large. But I actually held up a sign and I called the entire city council a bunch of Bohicans. And I gave everybody a new word called BOHICA, which means bend over, here it comes again. Now I'll give you an example of that in a little while. Here we are at the esteemed Brockton Enterprise building, a newspaper that I no longer buy. There's no real news in that newspaper. Like Donald Trump says, fake news. Well, that's what you get there, or you get no news at all. And the newspaper for $1.50 or $2, whatever they charge for it now, is so paper thin you could use it as toilet paper. So that's pretty much what it's worth.
I wouldn't use it as toilet paper.
Yeah, you get some black marks probably.
That's not a good idea.
Anyway, so BOHICA, why did I come up with that? Well, it all stemmed from, I had to come up with a reason or some kind of rallying point in my campaign then. I still lost, but I came close. But we're up in Lake George. There's a place called Dilligaff, a couple of stores up there. And the guy who owns Dilligaff, his name's BOHICA Bob. Anyway, it wasn't until a couple of years later we had gone back to Lake George for vacation, me and my wife and the kids. And she found out from BOHICA Bob what BOHICA actually meant. I almost fell on the sidewalk when I heard that it meant bend over, here it comes again. That's what's going on with Brockton. It's been going on for a couple of decades now, but it's gotten worse and worse and worse. I have stuck by Mayor Carpenter because I thought he was going to be different. And, you know, back when he ran for the first time 4 years ago, he made some promises, and I thought he was the type of person who was going to keep the promise. So we rallied behind him and helped him get elected by the skinniest of margins. And, you know, although Linda Balzotti, who was the current mayor at the time, very nice lady, I think she meant well, but she kept raising our taxes year after year after year. And after I met with John Condon, the CFO, that year, before the election, and I sat down for about 3 hours with him, he told me and another person who was with me that the city didn't have to raise taxes that year. Okay, we could forego a tax increase, give everybody a break for a year, and you know, it would instill some sort of positive flow throughout the community if that was to take place. And he understood that, but he said, I'm not going to recommend that to the mayor because we'd have to give in to those tax people every year after that, meaning the Brocktonians for limited taxation that was in existence at the time, of which I was a member, but he didn't know that. Anyway, I brought this to the mayor's attention, and she said, well, I'm sorry, Paul, I have to do what I have to do. I've got the firefighters' contracts, I have the contracts with the police department, I've got to raise taxes. I told her I thought Bill Carpenter was going to beat her if she did that. She did it, he beat her. So here we are, 4 years later. Not much has changed in Brockton. We have a few new street lights, as you see, stop lights. We have some paved roads, but we have, since the beginning, which started out pretty good with Bob Hayden coming to the city, Chief Hayden, wonderful man who I love and adore, God rest his soul. Since Bob Hayden helped get the police department back on the right track, and he handpicked John Crowley, the current chief, who seems like a nice guy, and he seems to be following in Hayden's footsteps. Besides that, we've had a bunch of failures. Brockton downtown, Main Street, has not become a two-way street. We were promised that. Supposedly, State Senator now, Michael Brady, and State Rep Claire Cronin got $5 million appropriated for that project. Nothing's happened. No ideas. Nothing's been talked about as far as, nothing's going to get revitalized in Brockton and downtown until it's a two-way street and the adjoining streets are back to the way they once were in Brockton. Nothing is ever going to change. So that's out of the picture. That's so far a failure. Because a stupid, idiotic proposal for a casino in Brockton across from the high school, which the legislature was never ever going to allow to begin with, even if Brockton was the last community standing, which Brockton was. They said, no, we got enough casinos. That's gone by the wayside. Power plant, another dismal failure. And now we're stuck with this contract for the desal plant for years and years and years when we have ways out of this contract. But we're holding on to it and paying $6.7 million a year when we could go to the governor, ask for his help in getting out of this contract and say we refuse to pay any more money to this company because it's not doing us any good as a community. It's old and outdated now and needs all kinds of repairs. Yet the mayor wants to buy it for $88 million. Idiotic. I think he wants it to resurrect that power plant because the power plant idea, because the power plant needs the water.
Well,
why else would we be stuck in this contract?
Well, actually, we are using some water now. Like, for a while, I was always questioning, why are we paying all this money every year and not using a drop of water? They are using 2 million gallons of water a day now.
Really? For what?
Yeah, for, well, to offset the depletion from Silver Lake. Just, because at the beginning of the year, it was low.
Yep.
Now, there's been a lot of water conservancy in the city. We average about 9 to 11 million gallons of water use a day.
Okay.
In Brockton. So it's basically offsetting that. So I say at least we're using it. However, I feel strongly that contract needs to be renegotiated. If we're going to...
No, we need to get out of the contract. We need to
We
tie
need a
into
refund.
We need to tie into the MWRA. We can do this with the governor's help. That's the only solution to this issue, in my opinion.
But what worries me too is they want to buy it without any sort of independent inspection.
It would cost the city way too much to buy this and get into the water business. And yearly costs as far as maintenance, getting things up to speed, taking care of the personnel that are running it. We don't need to be in the water business. Get out of it. Let Inema, or whoever it is that owns this company now, let them do their thing, Aquaria. Go on, sell it to somebody else. We don't need it. Tie into the MWRA, case closed. No more debate needs to be talked about on this issue. Let's just get out of it. It's a bad thing. Soaking the city for $6.7 million a year. We have teachers we need to hire back. Brockton High School is a mess right now. I think we need proposals like building a new high school. Wouldn't that be nice? Use that as a college campus, and I have an idea for that, but I'm not running for anything, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, what we're going to be in for, because I don't see anybody beating Mayor Carpenter this time, and I'll keep supporting the mayor, but I want to see some new ideas. I don't want to see more of the same old crap, because here's the hat that I designed, BOHICA. It's going to be more of the same. Bend over, here it comes again. So let's do it. That's what you're looking at, folks.
Man.
That's what you're looking at. More
Too
of the
much
same.
information
If you
right
don't
there.
like it, I mean, you got to do something about it.
How much do you think the MWRA will cost?
Well, I haven't really looked into it. I have done some studies on it, and it's not as much as you would think. We pay for what we use. There's a tie-in cost, and I think it's $3 or $4 million. But there are different ways to structure it. So I don't think it's going to be something that's going to cost the city a ton of money. $88 million is a lot of money to buy a water plant that we don't need. We don't need to be in that business. Other communities are never going to buy the water from us. They haven't so far. So it's a bad deal.
So other things I've heard about the MWRA is the bureaucracy of all the planning and permits would take anywhere from 5 to 20 years. I've heard that from different people. I got to learn more about that, to be honest, and I want to learn about actually another solution where we take the groundwater and we get all the, the contaminants out of that, and how much that would cost, like a water treatment facility that could, make use of groundwater, because I guess there's a lot of iron ore in the water and whatnot, so we can't just drink it
you got
up.
Scott Hall here running for council.
I'm on
Give
the
him one of
ballot
your
for
votes.
council at large.
You got a couple other decent guys, good guys, I shouldn't say decent, good guys. You got Gary Keith and Jacob Tagger. But consider Scott, he's a good man.
I'm not about badmouth name. I'm listening to every voice, and I want to see United Brockton. I want everybody to sit at the table like adults, differing opinions and all, and actually come up with some solutions.
Let's see an end to
That's all I'm
BOHICA
hoping
for
for.
good. We don't need any more BOHICA in this city. There's too much backslapping, too many jobs being handed out, too much patronage. Everybody's related to this one and that one. I'm serious. You got to stay behind the mayor. He's going to be our mayor for 2 more years. I challenge Bill. Come out and do something. Let's do some stuff. Let's make Brockton Main Street a two-way street again. Go seek out WB Mason and other businesses in the area. Get them to help sponsor these streets. Put a nice plaque, WB Mason section of Main Street on both ends. Okay, nice advertising. Get a couple $1 million out of them, whatever it takes. We can make that happen, but you got to start thinking out of the box. The hell with casinos, the hell with desal plants, power plants, idiotic ideas that'll never come to fruition, and you use them at election time. That's all they are, is election ploys. Because anybody with any sense in their head knows the casino was never coming to Brockton. The legislation up on Beacon Hill is not stupid. They're never ever going to put a casino in Brockton at any cost. No way, no how. From day one, they knew it was never coming to Brockton.
The other thing too is you're contending with very deep pockets. To be, truth be told on that one.
It doesn't matter how deep the pockets are. Brockton, there's no draw to make a casino successful.
And right next to a high school.
It would have been a dismal failure.
Right next to a high school is not cool either.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out it was never coming to Brockton. So, I mean, let's get rid of these dumb ideas and stop rebuilding Brockton from the bottom up, okay? But it hasn't even started in 4 years so far of Bill's tenure. So let's start it now. If you're going to be the mayor for the next 2 years and maybe 2 after that, because nobody's challenging you. So let's do something. Let's make Brockton a better city, and the people have to demand this. If you don't demand it, you're never going to get it. How do you demand it? Go to the polls. Maybe a 25-year-old Jimmy Pereira is the answer. I don't know. But we got to start holding people accountable. Nothing's moving forward in Brockton. It's going backwards. All these nice buildings and these apartments they're putting up. Well, I see who's living in them now, just like I predicted. More low-income housing, supposed to be for artists. The stuff there on Center Street, nope. I don't see any artists coming out of there with artist hats and artist and easels. Take a look in the windows. Take a look at the people walking around who are walking inside and living in there. Hasn't happened. It's just excuses to build more low-income housing, and that's why we're becoming a slum, and it's not necessary.
Well, thanks for your time.
The great Rocky Marciano behind us. Let's bring it back. Let's bring Brockton back. Let's bring some pride back to Brockton. We're the city of champions, or we were. Now more like the city of chumps, but let's be the city of champions again.
I wouldn't say city of chumps. There's a lot of great people in Brockton.
Well, there are, but where are they?
I'm not a chump. It's very tough to chump me. I know that much. But thanks for your voice.
Nothing like a good old-fashioned little rant.
It's always
no more BOHICA.
It's always a pleasure speaking with Mr. Beckner. He's always got an interesting perspective on things.
Absolutely.
So take care.
If you had trouble hearing me, give me a call. I'm at Miracle Air on Belmont Street. And,
what's the address?
I'll take care of you. 776 Belmont Street. Take care of you, your family members. Give you a free capture and call phone. Cost you nothing. Paid for by the federal government. So if you know anybody with hearing problems, come and see me. I'll take care of you. That's how I take care of people now. I don't have to run for office anymore. God bless you all.